Hey, it's Elizabeth Cronin with NDSU Agriculture Communication, and I'm here to talk a little bit about SharePoint, which is part of the Office 365 package, and just kind of give a broad overview of some of its features and what you might encounter going forward in SharePoint sites for sharing internal content. Or maybe give you a little bit of inspiration to start your own site. So here I've already logged into my Office 365 account. You can get to your account just by logging in, however you get to your webmail, or you can even just search Office 365 login and use your NDUS email address to get in that way. But when you're logged in, you can go to your waffle menu in the left corner here and find SharePoint from the apps. If it's not showing, you may need to go to all apps to find it. So here is my SharePoint starting page, and you'll see I'm following a number of sites already, so you may not have this much content that shows on your site. If you don't see anything, you can search here if you know the name of a site, an existing site. But I'm going to start by showing just one of the sites that has maybe the most basic layout. So when you're getting started, if you have a new site, your default homepage will likely have a documents library there. You might have some other things that you don't need. You can change that by going to edit here, and you can delete any of the things that you don't want or add different items. But here, this probably looks pretty familiar to you if you've ever used OneDrive or even just the File Explorer on your computer. You'll see a folder structure. Inside each folder, I have different types of files, Word, Excel, PDFs. And it's pretty simple to access the files. You can view them right through SharePoint, or this will open in the web version of Excel, or I can open in the desktop app if I prefer to see it in my Excel. Up in the top bar here, it says open in desktop app, and that will open it and give me all the functionality of Excel that I'm used to seeing. But I'm going to go back to the folders here. And so I have folders within folders. So because this looks essentially like OneDrive, you might wonder why you would use SharePoint over OneDrive. And I think the answer is that OneDrive has one owner. The person who creates it, the account holder, owns those files, and they can share them with other people. They could share a folder, they could share a document, but the files still live in that person's account. So if you were to leave the organization, the people that you've shared that information with may lose their access. Where SharePoint, you can have multiple site owners and members or viewers, different levels of permission. But if you were to leave, the site still exists because it's hosted with NDUS, and people who need that information will still have it. So there's a lot more you can do in SharePoint besides document storage. This is kind of just brushing the surface. This site is for support staff conference planning. So if you've served on the committee, you've probably seen this before. Some of the features we haven't really used very often. This is kind of just a default in the navigation for many sites, is a task list. I could create tasks, give them a due date, and assign people to the task, and we can kind of keep track of our project that way. Or maybe you want to move some of your content off of the public-facing website and move it just for internal employees. You might use a site, you could put files here, but if you have pages coming from the website, you might use some of the other features of SharePoint. So I'm going to open this site that I created for AgCom, and you'll see it looks a lot different. It looks a little bit more like a web page, and I've pulled, this is all content. We haven't pulled it off of the website yet, but I think that move is coming soon. So these links here these tiles are links to pages that I've created in my site. It's pretty easy to create a page in SharePoint. The settings gear on the upper right here will allow me to create a page and add content. So that's what I've done for all of these tiles. And then my home page, instead of having the default things that the default folders or whatever on the basic site, I have added these web parts. So each thing that you see here is called a web part in SharePoint. And I'm going to open this up for editing, just so you can get a quick glance at what it looks like behind the scene. So here's my web part. For these are quick links. And I have all these pages that I created with content from our website. I have added them as links. So these links are going to SharePoint pages, not website pages. And just a more visually appealing way to share a bunch of links. And I could have also put these pages in my left-hand navigation had I wanted to. I'm just going to close out of my editing here and open up one of the pages I created. So this is the marketing and branding page. You'll see that image that was pulling on my tile on the home page is the image that I put as kind of my header here. And I have this one, instead of one column, I have my information in 3 columns. This web part is a document library. So I have a document library where I've stored all these branded templates for flyers, brochures that people could access for. These are extension related templates, and some contact information for AgCom. So just another way to share information on a SharePoint site. A feature that you may have encountered if you've opened any of the Let's Communicate emails that AgCom sends out monthly to the All Ag listserv. I have a news web part on my home page, or you can reach it in my left-hand navigation. And a news part, it's essentially a collection of pages that you can use as news. So we add pages here, give them a title, an image, and then we're able to create a news digest and send these email newsletters out to our internal staff to be able to access this content. And again, instead of just putting the information in an email, it's just a little bit more visually appealing with a thumbnail and a description. And then we're not posting the articles publicly. For example, NDSU has a Zoom webinar feature. It doesn't really apply to anyone except our own employees. So we can keep that information just to our own staff. So there are so many more features available in SharePoint. You can manage your records retention in a document library. You can create photo galleries, embed videos, create workflows. I have just started scratching the surface on a few basic features. There isn't a lot of internal training available on SharePoint. So what I've learned through requesting a site. So you won't automatically be able to create a site for yourself. That you'll have to work through the ITS webpage has a request form. So if you work through them, request your site, then they'll ensure that it has the naming conventions that it needs, and you can start working from there. But getting going, you may not know exactly what you're doing right from the get-go, but there are so many training videos and articles available online. I would love to start a user group for people who own sites, so we can talk about features that we've tried and what has worked well, and learn from each other. So if you are interested in learning more about SharePoint, definitely if you want a site, work through ITS. But if you're already using it or are interested in digging into some of these features that I've mentioned today, I'd love to hear from you, and maybe we can get a group and start working together. So you can shoot me an email. My email address is elizabeth.cronin@ndsu.edu, and I look forward to working with you.